Hi, I'm Lisa Prokopyshin. I'm a DBT therapist in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I wanted to talk to you today about dialectics. In particular, how we actually use dialectics in interpersonal relationships in DBT. That was my computer going off. You'll have to excuse me for that. I had an alert coming in. In any event, so this might be the skill for you if, in fact, you desperately want to make more effective decisions in relationships. And you notice that you just keep getting sucked in and stuck in conflicts. You know, we all do that from time to time. But if you want to figure out how you can really reduce that in your life, I have a skill for you. So what this skill, I hope, will do is help you move from a place that you feel stuck and you feel like there's only one truth to actually seeing the kernel of truth in the other side, which might sound like a totally counterintuitive thing to do. Why on earth would I want you to understand the other perspective? Actually, if you understand the other perspective, you might get less stuck. And there's a way to do this while still honoring yourself, which I think is what you actually want to do. In fact, figuring out where the other person is coming from might help you honor yourself a bit better because you'll be more effective doing it. So dialectics, it is our middle name. It's this idea that two things that appear to be total opposites, when considered together, can actually give you a new way to view the situation. You probably heard some of them when you started treatment, like the idea that you're doing the best that you can, and we still have to figure out how to help you do more. Both are true at the same time. But this time we're teaching it how you would apply it to your relationships, right? And believe it or not, this even works in situations where things are unfair, where things are divisive, or where you might be experiencing social rejection. Actually, this might be one of the best skills to use. So there's something you don't know about me, or you probably don't know unless you're somebody who knows me well that you're watching this video. So I came out of the closet 24 years ago. You can do the math and figure out I was not super old when I did that. When I came out of the closet, there were no social supports. I had to walk up the snowy hill on both sides with no shoes. Okay, maybe there were shoes, but it was really hard. And things were genuinely different than they are now. There's lots of things that have changed. But imagine this, though. I was living and working in the States, and having a job was a value I had, right? That was something I wanted to be able to do. At the same time, I worked in places early on, states in the US, where you could be fired without just cause. So that means if you were fired because you are GLBT, you actually didn't have legal recourse to defend yourself. That doesn't mean you were going to get fired, but because that was a possibility, a lot of us were fearful, and some of us were in the closet at work even though we didn't want to be. So in a different week, we discussed lots and lots of stuff about behavioral reinforcement. It even happens to DBT therapists. It happens to all of us, actually. So I got used to being in the closet at work because there are times it was effective. And then when I started working in a different state where I had all the legal protections, I actually couldn't get myself to be out at work. I still said he to describe my partner, even though my partner is a woman, and I just couldn't break the habit. Even though I had the legal protections behind me. So I was working, here's another dialectic, this was the best job in the world. It was also the worst job in the world at the exact same time. Can you imagine that? So why was it the best job? My coworkers were great. They were compassionate, caring. Most of them were nurses, so it was a medical setting. Like, they really had my back. I had theirs. I came into work happy every day. I knew I could trust them. They were really good at what they did. Really, really good at what they did. Positive work environment. I even got my birthday off. We all got our birthday off. How cool is that? And at the same time, it was also the worst place to work ever. Some of my coworkers were very religious, and they had no idea that I am a lesbian. They knew I was Jewish. You know, if you knew my full name, there's a component of my name that some people can figure out. So they knew that, but they didn't know the rest, right? So lo and behold, I was getting married to my partner, and I decided that my values shifted, and I was going to change that behavioral reinforcement, and I was going to be out at work. So as you can imagine, some of my coworkers were pretty surprised. Truth be told, nobody threw me a wedding shower. In fact, some of them tried to talk me out of getting married. And actually, I see it from their perspective. I am a catch. I'm a total catch. If they could convince me to change my lifestyle with being Jewish and a lesbian, like, this is like two birds with one stone. And honestly, this is what their values are. And they were coming from a very caring place. Like, I really get that. That's not the place I come from. But I see where they're coming from. I do. So here's the dialectic that I could see that and at the same time still hold on to my own values that were different. And the overall value is that I valued having a job. So leaving my job was actually not effective at that point. Even though I was feeling polarized, I was still connected to those coworkers and they were still connected to me, even if we were having difficulties. And it was not a relationship that needed to end at that point. I needed a job. So I had to balance a lot of opposites. I stopped being out of the closet at work, yet at the same time, there are some people that knew more about the wedding plans than others. There's some people that I kept it, more strictly work in conversation, and there are other people that I could be more myself in. And weighing all these opposites while experiencing really painful social rejection was actually the most effective thing for me to do, because it kept me in a job when I needed one. And there were lots of good things about this job. And I actually stayed in that job until I moved to Canada. I was there for a couple years, balancing opposites. So if there's any part of you that's thinking, oh, dialectics, oh, that's for easy conflicts. That's not my kind of conflict. That's not going to work for me. It actually might. The only way we can figure out if it's going to work for you is if we give it a try. So what I'd like you to do for homework is think of a situation that you could actually try this with that feels like the difficult but manageable kind of situation for you. So maybe not your Mount Everest most difficult situation if you don't feel ready to take that on. If you do, let's talk about it. We'll figure it out as a group. Or you can figure it out with your individual. And maybe not a situation that's so easy for you that you really don't need our help. Let's think of a middle ground situation for you to try this on and see if it actually works for you. Because I actually think if you're desperate to make more effective relationship decisions, that this might make a big difference for you. So I'm Lisa Prokopyshin. Thanks for listening today. I appreciate it. And I hope you try out the skill.